Starting a business changed my life. If you guys are watching this video right here, right now, and you want to make a difference in not just your own life, but an impact in other people, then starting a business is going to give you the skill sets to be able to do so. Because a lot of people, they tend to think, and I had this thought before even starting the business, that it's just like for the money, right? Or it's going to give me freedom, which it's done all these things. But more importantly, I've learned that business is just an extension of personal growth and self-improvement. And when you can start to look at what you're becoming and who you're becoming and the impact you're having on other people, that's when your life's going to change. So if you're thinking about starting a business, I'm not going to tell you just up and leave your job and do maybe some of the wild things that I've done. Like I put myself in extremely high stressful, high risk situations, some of which didn't pan out and some of which did. But it was all worth it. And I'm going to explain in this video why exactly it was worth it and what I've learned so far after being in my second full year of entrepreneurship and my first full year of not having any other streams of income. You see, I worked a bunch of different jobs when I was younger. So it's just like briefly my story. I worked, well, first I was, big into fitness when I was growing up. So I always, had a knack for putting on muscle. I got certified as a trainer, became a nutrition coach. I was an in-person personal trainer, and I was training clients that way. And then I worked a couple of other jobs, leading up to that. But I realized when I started the in-person training that there was just something that was missing, and it was truly the aspect of freedom. Because I was working 70 to 100-hour weeks for about 2 straight years, and some of those, years were, or some of those weeks were just times where I didn't even know what to be working on, but I had to figure things out, right? And I always thought that like starting a personal training business would be cool because I could help people with fitness. And it wasn't until I started to realize that I actually had a much deeper passion for entrepreneurship and just helping people that, that fire inside started to, light, if you will. And so I remember I had some in-person clients and they would say things like, oh, they'd ask like, what is your long-term plan? And I would tell them like, yeah, I want to start like a fitness business. And I'm thinking about doing it around coaching to start, and then long-term transitioning into supplements, merch, things like that, right? And a couple of the clients would say things like, wow, that seems stressful. That seems like a lot of work. Are you sure you want to do that? And I remember thinking to myself after, like, that's what separates people from living a life of mediocrity and a life of purpose. Because if you're not actively working towards something, then you're not going to feel like life is worth living, at least to what you are capable of and what might be out there. And I started, during this time to connect with other entrepreneurs. I didn't know a ton in person, but I heard of a bunch of people online that were making a lot of money, had freedom, they could travel when they wanted, they could spend time with their family, they can make just an absurd amount of money. And I was like, okay, this is something that's cool, but what's the real reason? Why would I actually want to start this? And I thought to myself, okay, it would truly be for freedom, because I found myself when I was younger, every time I was inside of a job, just anticipating getting out, right? Like, I can't wait to be out of here. I want to go to the gym, do my meal prep, vlog, do my workouts, record content, help people with this. At the time, I didn't have any clients. I didn't have anybody that I was actively working with, but I had a lot of people that would reach out and ask me questions about like how to get into shape. So I thought to myself, okay, what if I just like tried, right? So flash forward, right? I got let go from the job. I went from second to last on the leaderboard. We had 23 salespeople, and for you guys like watching that don't realize, a lot of like almost everything is sales, right? If you're working a job, you're selling yourself to the company and the manager on not getting laid off, right? And when you get an interview, you're selling yourself on becoming a valuable aspect to the team and providing value. When you're doing personal training, you're not just working with working with people and helping them get into shape. That's a small piece of the pie. You need to get people to know, like, and trust you, and provide them a good service that is going to actually benefit them. And so I realized shortly after starting that I was getting in my own head. I was frustrated because I, in the humblest way possible, was one of the most knowledgeable trainers at the gym. I've been doing this for 12 years, bro. So it's like, not just have I actually done the research and the studying and education, done the certifications and such, but I've also spent a lot of time actually applying it. And I felt like a lot of people that were at the gym, they weren't actively applying it. Like they were only working out a couple times a week. They, were just kind of doing it for fun. And for me, it was always not just a hobby, but a passion. I loved fitness. I loved pushing myself to become the best possible version of myself, not just physically, but mentally, with my faith, like all these sorts of things, right? And with personal development. And so I found a lot of passion with helping the people, and I started to really just like look forward to getting more clients. But the issue with that, bro, was although, and I say this in the humblest way possible, I was in probably better shape than most of the guys there. A lot of the personal trainers, bro, if I'm just being frank, were fat. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, I would not want to hire a personal trainer that's overweight and doesn't even exercise themselves. There are a lot of people that just like, when they're outside of the gym, when they're outside of the training job, they're not taking care of their nutrition, they're drinking, they're doing all this stuff. And I just thought to myself, like, I feel like that would be hypocritical of myself to be a personal trainer, but not be actively working on my own health, right? Or at least not to the expectation that I would like. And so I found myself, when I was working with these people, trying to push them to extreme limits, trying to get them to max out, their weight training, their nutrition, get in great shape. And a lot of them just didn't seem to have like a fire, the people I worked with, the clients, to get into better shape. And I always thought to myself, like, why is it that people are stagnant? Why is it that people don't want better for themselves? And so, make a long story short, I come to find out as I'm working with a handful of clients there, that it's very challenging to get clients. I'm in the gym, I'm pretty jacked at the time. Not to say I'm not now, but I was the most locked in I've ever been when I was working that job, because I was in the gym, so I was working out 2-3 times a day, and I was surrounded by people that were either bodybuilders or just like health freaks, and they were all prioritizing their nutrition, or at least most of them, right? And there were some people, like I said, that weren't taking it serious, but most of the people, they were like, you go in the break room, they're all eating chicken and rice and stuff, right? So I started to just, because I was in that circle, get a lot more disciplined, and my nutrition got dialed in for the first time ever. I always had this up and down fluctuation of like, I'll eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, and all these like healthy, boring, bland meals, and then it gets tiring for a while, and I go back to reverting to eating regular foods again, like people like the unhealthy foods we're looking at, right? And so I started to just really dial in everything. I was in great shape. I was super passionate about fitness. I was super motivated, but I didn't have a lot of clients, and I didn't know why that was. And then I realized that the job wasn't helping people get into shape. It was convincing people that I could help them first. And then when they trusted me enough, they liked me, and they resonated with me, then they gave me a chance to work with me. And then once they were working with me one-on-one, they didn't want to leave, at least most of them, right? And so I went into the job thinking it's going to be a fitness job, not realizing that it was actually a sales and marketing job. And this is where everything for entrepreneurship just unlocked for me, because I realized that if I don't have a lot of people to work with, I can't use the skills I have. And there was a long period of time where I had a handful of clients online, and same thing, I had a few people I was working with, but they were kind of beginners, they were kind of basic into fitness, and I felt like I couldn't actually dive deep into the advanced technology or terminologies that was actually going to help them get to the next spot, because they didn't know anything, right, or very little. So I started to dive deep into how to work with better people, and also apply my skill sets to people that are beginners. And as I realized that the top trainers at the gym weren't the ones in the best shape, they weren't the ones with the most knowledge, they were the ones that were the best talking with people and connecting with them, that's when I realized that I need to focus more so on the sales and the marketing, and not so much on just the fitness training, because I couldn't even use my skills for fitness and nutrition until I had the sales and marketing skill sets down. So there were about 25 trainers at the time, maybe 28, and I was 23, 24. I was one of the worst trainers there in terms of numbers. And I was in my own head thinking to myself, do I even know what I'm talking about, bro? Do I even know what I'm doing? Do I even know how to get people in shape? And I had this constant back and forth in my own mind, because I was just frustrated with the inability to use the skills that I had on real people, right? And so at the gym I would go to, not just the gym I worked at, but all the other gyms I went to, I was always the type of person that people are walking up to me asking, what do you do for workouts, bro? What do you do for your nutrition? Like, you look jacked, bro. You're super lean. Like, you're 5-6% body fat. Like, I want to get like you. And then when I started the training job, I thought people would just come to me. But no, that did not happen. Like, people literally didn't know who I was. They didn't have a personal trainer, and they weren't really apt to having one because they thought that, like, it wasn't going to make a change in their life. So I realized, okay, I need to double down on my skill sets. So I started listening to a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, and that's where this rabbit hole, or hamster wheel, if you will, of consuming information and applying it started to take place. So over the next 8 weeks or so, I went from 23 out of 25 or 28, whatever, pretty much close to last on the leaderboard, to number 2 in the sales department. And then the top sales trainer that had been there for about 10 to 12 years, and again, I was in my second year, he had a kid, right, and he was out for a few months. So I took on a bunch more clients, and I moved to number 1. So I was literally number 1 in the sales department. And it was cool because I was helping a lot more people, but I was super burnt out. And at the time, I thought it was because I was working a lot of hours. But thinking back on it, I worked 130-hour weeks before, doing stuff from home. And granted, I'm able to just wake up and just jump at my desk right away and start doing work. I was starting to realize, like, the burnout was actually coming from not having a lot of purpose and a lot of passion for it. And it wasn't the purpose and the passion for the fitness, it was the feeling of unfulfillment, like I can't even use my skill sets. So how did I actually go from one of the last person on the leaderboard to number 2 in the sales department, and then for a brief stint, number 1? I had to just double down on skill sets that I didn't want to acquire, that I didn't even realize I needed to acquire, to be able to actually implement the skill sets, fitness and the nutrition coaching, that I actually wanted to use. So I had to reach out to a bunch of people. I started calling, emailing people, basically seeing if they wanted to get some help with their fitness. And I would kind of do it sporadically, like here and there. And I realized, like, I was having difficulty. And it wasn't until I started to obsess over going crazy with the outreach and reaching out to people, doing follow-ups, getting referrals. That's when I realized, okay, because I've reached out to so many people, there's only going to be a percentage of them that are going to actually want to move forward and join. But the more people I reach out to, the more people I'm going to be able to help with the fitness. And so I skyrocketed up, right, to number 2, and then eventually number 1 in the sales department. And at the time, I just didn't feel like I had a lot of fulfillment. I had so many clients. I was working with about 38 to 40 clients at the time, and I was spending 7 days a week at the gym, 12 to 15-hour days, sometimes 20-hour days, and that's not an exaggeration. I had my first training session at 6 a.m. in Boston. I live an hour from the city, and there's traffic, rush hour traffic. So if I left at 4:30 or 5 a.m., I was going to barely get there in time. So I had to leave at 4 a.m. from my house to get there by 5. I'd have an hour to prep for the day, and my first session at 6, my next session at 7, 8, I would pretty much just have sessions until 11, and then 12 to 1 or 2 would be kind of dry because most people aren't at the gym then. And I would do my workouts, I would do my training session, I would work on the online coaching programs, I would do programs for my current in-person clients, and then around 2 or 3 o'clock, pick back up again, and I had about 7 to 8 clients back to back, and then usually my last client session was either 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., meaning I ended the gym training sessions at 9 or 10. And then after that happened, I would be a maniac, bro, right? And I would work out again because I just love fitness. And I would be done at the gym about 11:30. The gym was literally closed at this time, and then I would drive home another hour, and there'd be a bunch of road work on the highway. I would get home 1 a.m., right? And I got to do the same thing again tomorrow. Be up at 4 and leave. That means I'm sleeping 3-4 hours. So it wasn't that I was working too much. It was that I wasn't prioritizing my own purpose and feeling fulfilled, because I was just working just to work. And I was only going so hard because the gym was like, hey, if you don't get your sales numbers up, we have to let you go. It's not like a personal thing, but it's everybody here. Like, the turnover rate is probably like 1 out of 2 people that work at a gym, and it might be even higher than that, right? So they were like, hey, you need to start, we don't care. They pretty much, in a nutshell, said, hey, we don't care how muscular you are, how jacked you are, how much knowledge you have, how much passion you have for helping these people. We don't care if you have 10 clients that are making insane transformations. We need you to be doing 20 to 30, having 20 to 30 clients, regardless of if they get results or not. We just need you to help people. And that's where I started to really just disconnect from working for somebody else, because I realized that they were making me do things I didn't want to do. And obviously I could have left the gym at any time. I didn't have to comply, but I also had bills to pay, right? And I was barely scraping by when it comes to finances. So I started to get super burnt out, and I had this thought, this contemplation in my head. I need to make a change, right? I need to, because I know I want to do fitness long term, and it's either one of two things. Either one, I had a few online clients at the time. I need to either A, go all in on an online coaching business, or B, go all in on the fitness coaching in-person business. And I started to just see people around me, a lot of the older trainers there, they were struggling with like relationships, they were barely home, they were always at the gym, and I didn't want that, because not just was it going to take away my peace and my feelings of fulfillment and being able to do the things I want, but more importantly, I didn't want it just to be about like numbers and just selling more people. Like I wanted to genuinely help people. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm either going to A, build up this online coaching business from scratch, because I can't take anybody from in-person online because it's going to go against some regulations, and also, I don't want to put myself in a situation like that, right? As much as there are a lot of people that reached out to me and they're like, hey, I'd rather just work with you one-on-one. Can we do it? And I was like, I'm not really able to, right? And so I had to decide, did I want to make the transition fully online, just go all in on that business, or did I want to stay in the same cycle of doing the same thing over and over for years on end at the fitness coaching business, which is super inconsistent, right, to say the least. Because it's not just, is it hard to get clients all together and actually have people stick long term. Most of them are high network individuals traveling constantly. I worked with the CMO of somebody who created one of the vaccines, and he was, a multi-millionaire individual, and just for example, he's constantly traveling, he's constantly going to different countries, and so, I had a lot of clients like that, physicians, doctors, professors, people that are entrepreneurs that are just constantly going from, state to state, country to country, and so it was hard to get somebody on a regular routine. And I realized, okay, like what is this person going to do when they're not in the gym? They need some structure to follow, or they're just not going to keep the results. And that's where a lot of people struggled, is you were constantly traveling and didn't have any accountability systems in place. We weren't allowed to really contact them too much outside of the in-person training, like sessions. So I had to think, okay, like, do I want to continue doing this, or do I want to just help these people make better transformations and just do it online full time? So I made that decision because I noticed that every time I was putting effort into my online coaching business, I was kind of letting the in-person business slack off. So for example, when I was focusing on building up the online business, the in-person clients, they were all taken care of, but I needed to continue to get new people coming in, right? And I didn't have that much time to devote towards that, and vice versa. If I was focusing on the in-person business, I wasn't spending much time with the online. So I thought to myself, okay, each time that I'm focusing on a heavy one or the other one is, slacking, right? So I need to figure out which one I want to do and then stick with that and just go all in on it. At the time, I had worked at DEXA-FIT, which is a X-ray. Basically, you go in there, you get DEXA scans, which are X-rays that show you bone density, muscle mass, body fat, things like that, right? And when I was there, the business owner wanted to start selling online coaching programs, but the thing is, A, he was charging way too little, where people were not taking it serious. They weren't actually doing the work, and they were just getting the program, and then they would just do it for a week and then stop. And there were no accountability systems in place. They had no nutritional guidance. The way he was doing things is he was essentially telling me, hey man, just quickly go on ChatGPT and type up a program and give it to this person. And ethically, I just felt wrong about that. I was like, I'm not doing that. It's your business. You can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to do that, right? And he said, okay, well, don't worry about it. We'll just continue to focus on the DEXA scans. I thought to myself, there are people actively pursuing better results, and they're not going to take it seriously. They're not paying a lot of money, so they need to invest more, and they need somebody that's going to work with them and hold them accountable, give them everything. They need not just one piece of the pie. So during that time, I thought to myself, okay, I'm working at this DEXA-FIT job. I'm working as a personal trainer, and I'm doing an online coaching business. What if I just did everything focused towards an online business? And I just made that decision. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to quit my job. I had these back and forths in my head. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to take the leap into maybe instability of a coaching business online. And I don't know if it's going to pan off, but I'm at least try it. And I had that thought for months on end. And I was watching videos on YouTube. I was researching. I was investing into mentors. I was talking with friends that were thinking about doing it. But I wasn't actually doing necessary work. I was doing some, but I wasn't going all in. And so I had this back and forth, like every time I would drive to work, I'm gonna put my 2 week notice in today. No, like I should probably just wait until the time's right. And what happens if it goes wrong, right? Long story short, flash forward a couple of months, I started to just say, okay, I'm not really going to care too much about this in-person business. I'm going to continue getting my clients amazing results, but I'm not going to actively go out there and try to pursue more clients because it's just going to, keep me strapped down. And I don't want to commit to working with somebody and then all of a sudden, I leave, right, and leave them stranded. So I said, I'm just going to continue working with the people that are getting good results and want to continue working with me, and the rest of the time I'm just going to devote to the online business. So my productivity at the in-person gym started to decline a little bit, because I was just not doing as much of the marketing and the outreach as they wanted me to. So they sat down with me a couple times. They're like, hey, you got to do this XYZ. Are you sure you're all in? And they knew I had a coaching business online, but I kind of kept it low key because it's like they don't want you doing that. And not that there's anything against it, but they would rather have you just focus your efforts on making the business more money. So I had some big months, where I made $65,000 in revenue for the gym, right? And I, collected like maybe $4,000 from it, maybe $4,500. And it was just frustrating. It's like, bro, I'm literally getting not even 10% of the work I'm doing. I'm getting the client to come in for a consultation. I'm selling them. I'm doing the marketing, doing the outreach, and I'm having this person commit. I'm building out a plan for them. They're getting a crazy transformation. I'm doing literally everything. It's just not my gym and not my client per se, because it was the gym's client, so they take 90%, which is nuts. And Equinox, Lifetime Fitness, LA Fitness, all these gyms are all the same. Some of the smaller gyms you might get higher commissions, but they really don't care about getting people better results. It's just the business at the end of the day. And for me, I always thought, okay, like if I'm focused on the money, I'm not going to be able to actually have that purpose, the feeling of purpose, right? So I decided I'm going to go all in the business. And I'm at this point now where I'm kind of letting, the in-person outreach and the, trying to acquire new clients, letting that kind of be put in the back burner, just focusing on the online business, getting clients that way, getting them good results. People in my program already, I was re-enrolling into new programs. They were happy. And I just honestly didn't have the balls to leave the job because I have worked a job my entire life. And thinking back on it, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Like there were times where I quit my job, where I got let go from my job, and I did side hustles. I did different businesses, things like e-commerce, drop shipping. I did like Uber Eats, DoorDash, even though it's not really like entrepreneurship. I wasn't working for a manager. Like, yes, I had a company I was working for at the time, but I was kind of doing things on my own. And when I would be doing all those side gigs, I would always be listening to podcasts, watching videos about entrepreneurship, how to start, reading books, things like that, audiobooks. I would just listen to on my way to work. And it just got to a point where I noticed okay, I'm really meant for this entrepreneurship, but I'm also scared because there's a big risk and I might not make any money. And I also have bills to pay and I have a bunch of student loans at the time and things. And I'm like, okay, I also need to provide for my family. Like, what should I actually do? And so I was in this back and forth in my own head. Like, I don't want to leave the job, but at the same time I do. And there were just so many times where one day I'll be in a bad mood and I'll be annoyed and it's like, I'm going to just quit today. And then I'm like, probably shouldn't do that. And then there's another day where stuff's good. And I'm like, I'll just keep staying here for a little bit longer. And got to a point where, I drove into the gym one day and they basically said hey, we're going to part ways. And it was frustrating because I was literally number one in the sales department. And I'm like, well, I just brought in $65,000 of revenue for this one location within the past 3 or 4 weeks. Would you rather have somebody else that's not doing that and isn't passionate about fitness and isn't really taking their health that serious we work here versus me? And the main reason for it was I missed a couple of meetings. Bro, I'm not the type of person to be showing up to meetings, to be following orders from a manager. As disrespectful as it might be, I genuinely just didn't care. And so I didn't, for the 2 years I was there, I didn't take a single vacation. I didn't take any days off. I barely even went to the beach in the summertime or did anything really fun. I was just working all the time. And it wasn't I just wanted to. It was also I was barely getting paid, so I need to make ends meet. And I remember at the time, bro, it was pretty bad. I don't think I even told people this. Maybe one of my friends. But at the time, bro, I had literally I was paycheck to paycheck. I had very little money in the bank. And I was driving to work, and I hit a bunch of traffic because I woke up late. And I was driving to work. There was a bunch of traffic. I was kind of speeding. I was, in a sense, weaving in and out of traffic, just trying to get to work on time, because we had one of those meetings, right? And that was the only reason that I was running behind is I just didn't prioritize it. And also, I had other things I was putting first, like my online business, my fitness and stuff, right? So I'm running late to work. I'm going 90, 91, 92 miles an hour in a 65. There's traffic, but only in a couple lanes. So I'm flying, bro, trying to get off the exit. Next thing you know, Stadi's behind me. I get pulled over, blue and red lights. Okay, bro, damn. Hopefully he's going to let me go. Nope, I get a $480 ticket, right? I have 30 days to pay it. At the time, I think I had like $800 to my name, but I also had car insurance. I had like my car payment I was behind, and I had rent due, I had loan payments, I had groceries. And I'm not going to play this pity party, like we all have difficulties and stuff, and we have to just make do. But I thought to myself, like, fuck, bro, like I got to make something work. Like I have to do something. Like if I don't pay this ticket, bro, I'm going to go to court and be in a big mess. So I pretty much, from that day on, I started to just go all in, and I just went nuts, and I made a ton of money. Compared to what I was making, I made like 4 or 5 grand. I had like a couple bigger months than that, and I thought to myself, like, okay, like there's definitely potential here, and there were people asking me about online coaching. I could make way more and just keep all the profits and get my clients way better results and help them with nutrition, accountability, things that they're not getting in person if I just fully commit to the online business. So flash forward, I have that speeding ticket, I have all these bills piling up, and I just double down. Bro, like literally everything I'm doing all day long is just business. I'm listening to videos and podcasts about sales, about marketing, about persuasion skills, about connecting with people, fitness, nutrition coaching, getting them results, psychology, all these things that allow me to acquire the skills to get not just better results for myself with my business, but more importantly, get these people help that they need, right? And so I just started to really dive deep into what I actually wanted to do, and I realized, like, I don't really know what I want to do. I know I like fitness, but clearly I don't have the skill sets to be able to help people with fitness until I master the ones with business. So I dove deep into all that, and basically, the gym lets me go, and I remember I was sitting down with them, and I'm like, okay, cool. Literally word for word, I say, cool. I was going to put my 2 weeks notice in anyways. Thanks for giving me the head start I need, because I probably would have never pulled the trigger. Obviously, the manager didn't appreciate me saying that, but part of it was me out of frustration being like, damn, bro, I'm number one in the sales department, and now you're just going to let me go after me being here for 2 years and, literally, bro, sacrificing what I felt like was everything. I didn't really have people I was hanging out with. I wasn't going out to the bars. The relationship I was in at the time, I wasn't really spending time with her. I was just always working. And there's people around me, the other trainers, saying, you're going to burn out, you're going to do all this stuff. You're going to get overwhelmed. And it's like, bro, I don't have any other choice. I have a family I have to provide for. I have bills. I need to make things work, and I'm in all this debt. What can I actually do? I don't have another option. And even if I wanted to just fuck off, bro, as much as I wanted to just enjoy, relax, enjoy my summer and stuff, it's like, bro, I have no other option. I need to make stuff work. So, 24 hours after leaving the job, or basically getting laid off, I just went all in. I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna just help people. I'm gonna scale this business. Not just for the monetary, but more so for the freedom it gives me and the ability to just feel like I have purpose. So 24 hours after leaving the job, I made 4 grand. Literally within 1 day. I was like, okay, there's definitely potential here. Then, after that, a couple weeks go by, I make another sale. I had $6,500 collected from that month alone. I'm not just doing this to say a money thing, but I want you to just change your perspective and maybe even look at life differently. So this is why I'm telling you these things. So I have $6,500 a month, right? More money than I ever made in my entire life, with the exception of one time where I was doing 100-hour weeks at the gym. I made $9K, right? And then for some of you guys, that's not that much money, right? But for me at the time, making $1,000 bi-weekly, $1,200 bi-weekly, that was a lot of money, bro. So I went on the business. I started getting them really good results. And then I had this dry spell where I didn't, I had a lot of clients getting good results, but same thing. I didn't know how to get people in the door. I didn't know how to get people even on a call with me to even see if I can offer help. It's frustrating because it's bro, I have all these skill sets, but I'm not even able to apply them. Same thing as the in-person job. And I thought to myself, what did I do in the in-person job that allowed me to have those big months where I made $65K in revenue for the gym? Maybe I didn't make all that. Obviously I didn't. But something that I did then was working. And so I used the exact same strategy with my online business. I started signing people. And then I hit this, this wall, right? I hit this wall where I didn't know how to get, any more clients. I didn't know how to make more money, and I was stuck. And I was frustrated. I was listening to a bunch of information on the internet, I was looking into mentors. I was thinking about investing money into a mentor, but at the same time, I wasn't making much money after that 1 month. I had that one big month, and then 3 months passed where I made $0, and it was very stressful. I had all these contemplations of going back to a regular job. I had like a bunch of people around me saying like you should just be realistic, like don't work on the business, bro, just get a job, just be happy. And it's like, well, clearly like the jobs I've worked in the past, haven't been the best fit for me, and I want to do this, and I know there's potential here. So I went all in. I invested into a coaching mentor. I saw basically an advertisement for this coaching program, and I just pulled the trigger, bro. I just paid thousands of dollars to join. I started spending a ton of money on marketing, on a bunch of different services that I thought I needed at the time, and the same thing happened. I spent all this money. They told me like, hey, you're most likely going to make 10 to 20K a month, and stuff's going to be amazing. I'm like, great. And obviously, it wasn't just them telling me, like I truly believed it because I had these big months before. And same thing happens. Next 3-4 months go by, I make $0. I'm like, bro, what am I going to do? Should I just get a regular job? Like, I don't even know what I want to do with my life. And then from that point, I decide, I'm just going to, try again. So I try again. I have $8,800 cash collected in like 48 hours. I'm like, okay, bro, there's definitely potential here. After that happens, I have another couple weeks past, a little bit dry, but I'm still trying. I'm still putting in the work. It's very inconsistent because, again, I went 6 months with $0, and then I make 8-9K in a day, in 2 days. I'm like, okay, bro. Then a couple weeks passed, and early January, I have another big month. I contracted like 12.6K or something, and made like 9 grand, 10 grand from that. And then next month, same thing, about like 7 to 8 grand. I'm like, okay, there's potential here. And then same thing, a couple months pass, struggling, right? And it's just a constant up and down roller coaster. And I've gotten to the point now where I have a lot of clients in my program, and they continue to re-enroll. They get good results. They get referrals sent over to me, and I have a lot of people actively just reaching out, asking for help. But what I want to get with all of this being said is I would have never gotten to the position where I was able to make the type of money I'm making, have the type of impact I'm having, own the business that I own, and help the amount of people I'm helping if I didn't take the risk of going through all the hardships with the in-person training job, driving literally after getting that speeding ticket, not having money to pay my insurance bills, for driving for months on end with no car insurance, bro. Like, hopefully I don't get arrested for saying that, but literally I was in this tough spot, and it was just like, I just don't have any money. And people are reaching out to me, yo, let's go out, let's party, like, let's, do this, let's go to like, Six Flags, let's go to the beach. It's like, bro, I don't have any money. And like, also, like, shouldn't even be driving. I'm just going to and from work every day. There were a couple of nights where I slept in my car at the gym because I'm done with my last session at 10 p.m. I have to be back there at 6 a.m., meaning I have to leave at 4. So I'm going to have 4 hours to sleep after I drive home and come back. I thought to myself, I'll just sleep here. I had a couple nights where I did that. I just slept in my car, in the gym parking lot. It was horrible, but it was just a tough time. So I'm doing all this stuff, and realizing as I'm sitting here now that going through all those hardships gave me the resilience to push through with the business when it was difficult, when it was challenging. And so I would have never gone to the position where I was able to make 10, 12, 15K in a month if I never got let go from my job, if I never took the risks that I took. And thinking back on it, I used to think fitness changed my life because it gave me this big outlook, this big mindset change, which it did. But I realized that it was just an extension of personal development, fitness, right? Just like how business was. And I started to get to a point where I was seeing a lot of success, not so much with the outputs, but with the inputs. I was seeing myself follow through with actions. I was posting consistently on social media. I was sending messages. I was posting stories. I was posting YouTube videos. I was getting clients results. I was getting on coaching calls and helping them out, and they were telling me that they were changing their lives. They felt way better. Their mindset was improving. They lost a bunch of weight. They gained a bunch of muscle. They felt way better. And they were also like super appreciative of me helping them. And it was a good feeling. And I started to just really like tap into learning all the skills, because obviously I was at a time where it was fluctuating. It was some big months, some $0 months, some slow months. And I started to just dive deep into like how to actually fix these problems. So I started just learning more about the sales, the marketing, client acquisition, fulfillment, all these things that a business owner needs to know. And I realized that through all of that, as stressful as it was, as much as I wanted to quit so many times, it gave me the necessary tools, the necessary skill set to be able to set myself up for a future life where now I can work from wherever I want, whenever I want. I don't have to work if I don't want to. And it's truly not even work, it's just me helping people with fitness. And I have leverage. When I say leverage, what that means is I spent countless months building out a program, building out video modules, building out a course, building out a community, all these things. Whereas now, when I enrolled somebody into the program, I just enrolled them into the program, I build something out for them, and then I just hold them accountable and stay, checking in, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm no longer selling my time for money and trying to make money by being in the gym in person. I'm making money for work I did in the past. And I'm just basically selling a digital product or service, which for me was a service. And I guess you could call it a product with the app and stuff that I use, but it was a service, the coaching, right? And now what I'm doing is I'm making money from work I did months ago. And I'm leveraged to the point where I have somebody taking care of a lot of the messages for me. I have somebody taking care of a lot of the check-ins and the coaching stuff. I'm doing the calls still, but I'm having people help me out with this, which is one, getting me my time back and leverage, but also because I've already spent all this time building this stuff out and trying and implementing different things, now I don't have to do the work and get paid, or get paid and then have to fulfill. Now it's okay, I get paid and the work's already done. They just have to follow the program and jump on the calls. And I went through a bunch of tough times where I sold my car, right? I got rid of my phone. I didn't have a cell phone number for months on end. And I kind of just locked myself inside the house and didn't do anything. Like I would go outside and go on walks. I'd go to the gym, but the exception of that, I was just working on the business literally every day. And it felt miserable at the time because I felt like it was all for nothing, but it all panned out months later. And there's this leverage curve or this compounding effect in business and in life where all the inputs you're putting in are eventually going to pay off tenfold, and they're all going to hit at like one time. It's not going to be like this thing where, like a job, you work 40 hours, you get paid 2, 3, 4 grand, and then great, you do it again next week. It was this thing where, okay, you're doing all this work, you're spending all this money, and you're making $0 back. So I'm actually losing money. And then flash forward a few months, all of a sudden now I have a week where I make 8K, a week where I make 9K, a month where I make 12 grand, right? And it's all because the inputs I was putting in. See, we can't control the outputs. We can only control the inputs. And that's something that I constantly remind myself of. And I always remind myself, too, that the discipline of building a business is stressful, it's painful, but I don't want to look back on my entrepreneurial and business career one day and say, each and every day that I was building that business, I was miserable and I hated my life. I told myself every time that I got stressful, I don't want to live that way. This is hard, it sucks. But I want to look back and say, I enjoyed the process. Because I don't want to just work and be miserable and then, it pays off and things get better, because it doesn't work that way. You still feel unfulfilled. You still want to work towards the next goal. It's just constant leveling up game when we look at life and business. And I wanted to help people become the person that they could become. And also myself deep down wanted to develop into the best version of myself. And so all of that being said, if you are somebody that wants to start a business, understand it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. I'm not here to scare you away. I'm here to say that it will change your life and it will make you into a complete animal when it comes to being a man or a woman. If you're watching, it will put you into a different character and make you level up, because I had to change my mindset. I had to let go of bad habits. I had to stop hanging out with certain friends. I stopped drinking. I did all this stuff, and everything I had to just laser focus on was the business and the vision. And now I'm at a point where all that leverage is paying off because all the work I did. Now I'm having these big months, these big weeks. I'm having like these great testimonials, and I'm not really doing that much actively now. I'm still giving them great service, but I'm not spending countless hours building out a program, building out all the things I need. It's already taken care of, and I just need to convince them that my program is the one for them if I feel that I can help them, right? And so starting a business will stretch you physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. Your energy will be all over the place. You'll be frustrated. You'll be in your own head. But what I can guarantee and promise you that is, if you start a business, as long as you don't quit, you can't fail. Because so many times I wanted to quit and I just kept going. And gradually my income started to increase. My results started to increase. My self-confidence started to increase. And also the feelings of being afraid or worrisome just went out the window, because I had times where I didn't make money for 3 months and I had to figure something out. And eventually I figured something out and I made money to pay my bills. And I was in tough situations, dire situations, where eventually I just made things crack. And I realized, okay, each and every time this keeps happening, like it's happened like 4, 5, 6 times now, where I get down to a very tough financial spot. I'm in a very tough, like stressed out spot. And, I figure it out somehow. But then other times where things are going well, because I don't have that same level of urgency, I'm not really progressing. And each and every time that I was in those tough spots was when I was actually progressing. Each and every time that I was putting in the work, doing the consistent effort, was when I was actually making the most growth and seeing the best results. Whether or not it came right away or it came a few months later, I was seeing those results because I was focusing on the inputs and getting better each and every day. And now I'm earning like the same sort of income that engineers, people that go to school for 4 years, are earning on a monthly basis, because I decided to just go all in on myself. And this is the same person that, like, I went to school for marketing for 3 years, but I dropped out. Like, it wasn't just one of these things where I was like, yo, screw school. But I literally couldn't get approved for any other loans. I had no cosigner. I had no other way of, getting into school. And I had all these like past due balances for my tuition, and I was working just to pay the tuition and my other bills, and I still couldn't keep up. So this is from somebody that literally didn't even graduate college, literally has worked a bunch of different jobs. I've been let go from almost every single job I've ever worked at, because I just feel like I didn't truly care that much about making someone else happy when I wasn't happy deep down. Maybe that seems selfish, but I just wanted to live a life that I wanted to look back on and be proud of. So I started building up the life that I wanted, and I'm nowhere near the end goal or where I want to be. And life is truly a never-ending cycle of personal growth. You never get to this position where you're finally happy. I remember thinking to myself, when I hit my first $10,000 a month, then I'm gonna be happy. And it happened, and I didn't even realize it. I was on a plane out in Dallas, and I realized when we were sitting on the plane, like, wait a second, I already hit my first 10K month like 3 weeks ago. And I didn't even think about it, because I was just focusing on getting to the next revenue goal, getting to the next milestone, getting X number of clients in the program, getting another 3 transformations, testimonials, right? The people that got good results. And each and every time that we have these goals, it's just gonna increase, and you're going to want to focus on the next goal when you achieve it. So don't focus on the outputs, just focus on the inputs, and you can change your life. Because I've changed mine with fitness and with entrepreneurship, and more importantly, my character development, the person I become along this process, has improved drastically. And I don't think I would ever be here if I didn't take the decision to bet on myself, go all in the business, and when I got let go from my job, still continue to keep my head high and do the necessary work and believe in myself. When nobody else believed in me, all my family members, most of my friends, or at the time my friends, people that I was talking to, all my coworkers, they were telling me it wasn't going to work, I shouldn't do it. And maybe they were not saying it that way. A lot of times they were like, hey, you should just consider this instead, or you should maybe try X, Y, and Z, or maybe you should like work a job while also starting the business. I had no other choice, bro. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have any other job I could fall back on. So I just went all in, and it changed my life. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But for you watching, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you want to start a business and you're going through a stressful time, or you're not sure if it will work out, just know that every person that's gone through these tough, difficult circumstances, they've always found a way to make do. And if they didn't, it's because they quit on themselves. You can't fail as long as you don't quit. If you continue putting in the work, eventually it's going to pay off. And maybe it doesn't pay off exactly the way you want or as soon as you like, but you will make progress. It's like anything else. I don't care how fat, how out of shape you are. If you consistently work on getting stronger, building more muscle, taking more steps, burning more calories than you were, getting better with your nutrition, eventually you're going to be in great shape. Regardless of how long it takes, you'll eventually get there. And with entrepreneurship, it's the exact same. You're going to eventually get to the position that you feel content with, and maybe you don't feel content for very long because you're going to aim for the next goal, but you'll eventually surpass way beyond where you're at currently if you just put in the effort. Just put in the effort and do the work, and your life can change. So that's my rant for you guys, is change your life, because nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. And nobody is going to convince you to do so. And nobody wants it as bad as you do if you're watching this video. If you're watching this video, you probably want a way out for your life financially, spiritually. You probably want to build a career for yourself and provide for your family like I wanted to in the past, which I've been able to do. But I wasn't able to do that without taking the risk, betting on myself, not listening to the naysayers and the people around me, and blocking out their noise, the opinions of other people, ending the relationship, not connecting with a lot of friends, cutting off my phone service, like not having a car, all this stuff for the longest time, literally walking to the gym, like all this stuff I had to sacrifice to get to a position where now I'm living a life that I actually feel comfortable with, and I actually enjoy, and I wake up and I have purpose with. because you need to find purpose in your life if you want to feel fulfilled, and that's going to get you out of bed in the morning, make you take more action and do the work necessary. But you won't ever find that purpose or that fulfillment or that vision until you bet on yourself and you commit to doing something that's unguaranteed and extremely uncertain. So just make that risk, take the risk, make the change that you know you need to make, and maybe you don't know what you need to make. You might not know what decision you need to make. All the times in the past, I thought it was going to be this one thing that took me off to the next level. Oh, this is going to be my breakthrough moment, working this job, working for this entrepreneur, eventually starting my own business. And I realized that there was no one-time breakthrough. It was a constant stack of effort over an elongated period of time that eventually things panned out in my favor. So just bet on yourself, bro, because you're never going to know until you try. And if you look back one day and you realize you never tried, you're going to be most likely not happy with yourself. So become that person. Start, learning the information you need to acquire the skill sets to get into the position you want with your life. And I know my channel is primarily for fitness, but I also document my entrepreneurial journey because I want to look back one day on the hardships I faced and tell myself that not just is it possible for me and remind me where my starting point was, but also motivate and inspire other people. Because the biggest thing I've learned from fitness is I love helping people make change. And that's carried over into business. I love helping people with entrepreneurship as well. I have so many people reach out to me on a daily basis asking about how to start their business, how to make more money, these sorts of things. And it's a fulfilling feeling when I'm able to actually help them do just that. So bet on yourself. Don't stop literally doing the work, bro. And just bet on yourself. And if you guys want to actually take your life to the next level, just get the help you need. Whether it's me, you want to ask me for help, sure, I'm happy to help out. Whether it's somebody else, get the information from somebody else that's above you, doing the things that you want to do, and literally study what they're doing, implement it into your lifestyle, and eventually you're going to have the exact same results. My business coach that I was working with for a long time was making $200,000 to $300,000 a month, which is insane. People in my family don't even make that in an entire year. They only make that in 5 years, bro. So I thought to myself, if I just do everything this person's doing, eventually I'll get some of the results he has, and I'll start to think like him, and then therefore make decisions like him and get results like him. And by doing that, everything changed for me. And I'm getting nowhere near where I'm at. I'm going to, of course, continue to stay humble. But it's a fulfilling feeling when you're getting better each and every day and you're looking forward to the inputs. Because I used to always look forward to the outputs. I always would look forward to making more money. I would look forward to having the freedom. And it never was fulfilling, and it never worked out that way. I never got the results. But when I started to look forward to the input, look forward to putting in the work, doing the necessary tasks, the effort, the decision I needed to go all in myself, when I started to look forward to those inputs, that's when I actually started to receive the outputs. And it was fulfilling because I wasn't feeling fulfillment and gratification from the output necessarily. Although that was great, it was more so from the input and the person I was becoming, the character I was developing. So just bet on yourself. And if you guys have questions, you want help with this, you can just message me on Instagram at JStrideFit, and I'm happy to help out with any of you guys, because I know the situation and the tough circumstances I've been in myself. And I know that I didn't have anybody to lean on. I didn't have any people in my circle. I didn't have any friends, any family members that were motivating or encouraging me, or even doing anything remotely close to what I wanted to do. All I had were these people on the internet, bro. These mentors, these people I didn't know if I could trust them or not. But I just bet on myself, and I bet on them, and I got the results I wanted. And I'm still far from where I want to be. But it's always a leveling up game. It's always one step at a time, laying one brick at a time. And if you continue to lay each and every single brick every day, you continue to do all in your power to put yourself in the best possible position, eventually it will pay off. Eventually it will pay off, as long as you don't quit. Because again, remember, you cannot fail if you don't quit. So I hope this inspires and motivates some of you guys. Again, my Instagram is JStrideFit. If you guys want to check me out there, that's where all my fitness content is. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Just don't give up on yourself, bro, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's plenty of light there, but you just can't see it yet because it's dark. And just keep going, and eventually it's going to pay off, if you want it bad enough. If you don't care that much and you're not willing to obsess over these things, bro, then you're not going to ever get there. Because each and everything I've done in my life, I had to obsess entirely over. With my fitness getting to insane shape, I had to obsess on literally going to the gym, eating a certain way, exercising a certain amount, and everybody around me told me I was crazy. I was obsessed with going to the gym. But guess what happened? It allowed me to set myself up for the business I wanted to start one day. The exact same thing happened with business. I had to obsess over literally everything I was doing and go crazy and spend all my time and all my effort, all my focus on that. And with the grace of God and having faith in Him and following the plan and having mentors that are also faith-based and tell me like, hey, just continue doing the work, continue taking action, eventually I started paying off. And it will pay off for you too, but you just need to do the work and keep yourself accountable. If you can't hold yourself accountable, it's going to be hard. Find people, whether it's paying a mentor, whether it's finding information that's free on the internet. Find a way to continue to pursue your goals and continue going, because you're not going to ever know what it looks like on the other side until you do the necessary work to get there. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video, and drop and let me know if this was valuable. I know it was a long one, but if you got value from it, just drop in the comments and type the word value, because I want to continue to put out more videos for you guys. And again, my YouTube channel is probably 50% fitness coaching, nutritional tips, and the other half of it is business and mindset stuff, because that stuff carries over into your fitness. If you have the right mindset, if you're doing the consistent action, you just have to work on different skills with fitness, but a lot of them are transferable. The discipline, the consistency, the mindset, the relentlessness, the obsession, have all these skill sets by putting yourself in a position where you're forced to have no other choice than to acquire them. So that's my message for you guys. I'll see you in the next video.